Hey, this is Archana Agarwal. I am an architect and I am teaching in a college of architecture at Navi Mumbai. Welcome to the fifth part of my video series on how to write an architectural thesis at undergraduate level. Part 1 of this video series dealt with selection of topic. I had also given some tips on how to bring distinctiveness in your work. In part 2, I had described the format of the report. Also, I had explained how to start writing and how to organize your data. In addition, I had given very important directives and tips. In part 3, I had explained the contents of chapter 1 of your thesis book. Chapter 2 and 3 were explained in part 4. And now in this video, I will be explaining the contents of chapter 4 and chapter 5. The fourth chapter of your thesis book contains case studies. Case study is an in-depth investigation of an existing structure, user group, locality, or situation that is related to your topic. Literature case study consists of studying and analyzing a case through reading everything you can find on the subject. You can refer to books in the library, use internet to look up research papers, check out standard code books and statutory laws or technical journals. Live case study involves physically visiting the place and adding primary data to the secondary data. Primary data and secondary data have been explained in earlier videos under the section of methodology. Doing a case study will help you understand the various aspects that you have to consider while designing. Here I am giving some important things to analyze in any case study. Analyzing the surrounding environment and the microclimate of that place will help understand the reason of the orientation of the structure, the kind of roof chosen, and the materials used in its construction. Studying the functioning of a particular place is very important, without which you will not be able to figure out the requirements of the project and the area that should be allocated for each of the requirements. Talking to people working at that place will help you figure out if the requirements that are provided are adequate and the area that is allotted is sufficient for its efficient working. Study of utilitarian facilities of a particular case is also important. Various measures taken to enhance a particular space should be analyzed. Form and function. Analyzing the reason behind the form of that particular building and how it merges with the surrounding environment needs to be studied. Form and function go hand in hand. The form of the building should be able to convey the function of the building. A lot of architects say form follows function. As an example, an institutional building should not end up looking like a museum or a shopping mall. Some other architects might disagree with that philosophy. They would say that the function of a structure keeps changing, but changing the form of the building every time its function changes is not possible. They say adopt the principle of universal design scheme. Horizontal circulation consists of elements such as corridors and lobbies. Vertical circulation includes elevators, staircases, ramps, etc. The efficiency of the placement of these services should be analyzed. Site planning and landscape detailing, you are all aware of it, you have been doing it for last 4 years. The basis of zoning of various facilities on site, the road and pathway network, the entry and exit points, the site contours and building levels, the height factor, the view factor, the aesthetic factor, etc. Understanding and analyzing the structural details is also important. For example, large span structures such as auditoriums use trusses or heavy steel sections and sometimes shell roofing. Whereas in small span structures, RCC construction is used. Building services such as electrical, firefighting, fire alarm, HVAC, access control, safety and security, water supply and drainage systems. All these systems should be examined and their space requirements are to be analyzed. Study of implementation of the barrier-free architecture for comfortable access to disabled people. Most public buildings have mandatory accessibility systems for the disabled. It might also be important to find out the socio-economic profile of the people using the services so as to determine their requirements and available resources. You also need to observe the number of car parking provided against the number of users of the facility and study the system, especially if it is a mechanical system. Last but not the least, the environmental aspects need to be studied. The rainwater harvesting system, the grey water recycling system, energy efficient architectural techniques, waste disposal system, etc. And now some tips on selecting and presenting the case studies. If you think that sketches, maps, graphs, photographs, etc. would help you explain them better, then use them to support your data. Just remember to provide proper captions. You have to make sure that all the specific concerns are discussed properly and their relevance to the project stated clearly. It is also advisable that you choose cases that are related to your thesis in distinct varied ways. One case study may be concerned with a project similar to your proposal and another which employs a technology which is comparable to what you are proposing. As an example, if your thesis is about a multi-storied office building, then you may study one case that is an office building to understand the requirements and trends in designing an office building. Another case that is a multi-storied structure employing latest construction technology. And a third case of a net zero building to study the sustainable techniques used in office buildings. You might also be able to draw more reliable conclusions by studying both local and foreign cases. At least 3 topics for study would be ideal: a study of similar user group, a study of a case similar to the project, and a study of the current trends pertinent to the project. This does not mean that you have to limit your case studies to 3. It might also be useful to include a failed case that used the same technique or was intended for the same user group. Even failed cases are helpful in your research, as they give you a fairly good idea of what not to do. However, please note that all the cases should be related to your topic. It is not enough just to gather and present your data. The case studies will have no value unless they can be related to your project. What you have to do in this chapter is sift through the information that you have presented in the previous chapters and come up with those that can serve as a basis for further development. With the theoretical foundation that you have laid in chapter 3 and the factual components that you have presented in chapter 4, you can very well analyze what really needs to be done. But remember, the needs you identify here should always be the ones that can be satisfied by architectural solutions. Otherwise, discard them or process them so that although the root may be social, psychological, or physiological, the expressed needs and requirements are architectural. If there are concepts and theories that need to be discussed so that you could arrive at the most efficient design solutions, you have to present them along with your recommendations here. Same goes if you think that there is a new design approach which has to be developed and used for your proposal. You are encouraged to draw various schemes to present probable solutions, and it will not stop there. You have to orient your readers of the variances and indicate the advantages and disadvantages of each scheme so that you would not have the difficulty of explaining the design of your choice when later on tested against the concepts. Remember to include the services and utilities. With this, I come to the end of part 5 of my video series. Happy working!